This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
You're listening to WSTU Stewart.
Coming to you live from the Treasure Coast Lexus studios at WPSL. It's Startup Talk with Tom Kindred.
Oh, thank you, sir, and welcome to another segment and installment of Startup Talk, the show designed to assist and help Treasure and Research Coast residents who want to start, grow, or accelerate their business. As I always say, what a great place it is to own and operate a business along the beautiful Research and Treasure Coast. We will spend time during our hour together tonight to highlight and create awareness regarding the very powerful business assistance and support programs which exist right here in our communities at our very own Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred, and I serve the community as the Regional Director for the Small Business Development Center here at Indian River State College. As always, underwriters for this segment of Startup Talk are the law firm of Dean, Mead, Minton, and Zwimmer, celebrating 30 years of service on the Treasure Coast, on the web at deanmead.com, and our good friends at Harbor Community Bank, banking the way it used to be. If you're looking for a better banking experience, check out Harbor Community Bank, where customer needs are the top priority. Harbor Community Bank, an equal housing lender, member FDIC, and, of course, our good friends at Express Printing of Port St. Lucie. So, Greg, how are you this evening?
Doing well.
That's good. Any update from Pioneer Sports?
Well, actually, I had to do a little weaving of IRSC basketball in with the Miami Heat today.
Oh,
so
did you really?
We're good to go. We have about 10 conflicts, but I told the Miami Heat, you got the back seat.
That's
here.
right. Listen. You know? Pioneer basketball comes first. That's
Yep.
right. Listen. You got to go where the crowds are. And
if this is either year 9 or 10, I can't remember.
Of what?
Because we covered Mike Leatherwood's last year, and then I think it's 10 years.
10 years you've
season.
been covering basketball.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're there every game.
I'm a dinosaur.
I know.
Yeah.
And again, I always tell folks, it really take the time to kind of check the sports calendar at Indian River State College. It is a great opportunity for you and your family to come out and see collegiate athletics, and there's never any charge to attend one of the games. And the basketball games, I've never been to one that didn't come down to the buzzer, and they're great games. And of course, women's volleyball has cranked up again.
Yes.
And we are the defending conference champions at Indian River State College. So
they kick it in for real next Friday.
Right.
They have a 2-day tournament at IRSC on the main campus. You bet.
So, Greg, tonight, I love these. I love these nights. It's one of my favorite segments. In fact, I'm doing more and more of these segments. But I want to continue with our Legacies of Business series tonight. And like our previous Legacies of Business guests, we've had Greg Roslow from Roslow's. I think the store's been open for 65 years in downtown. We had Alan Osteen, which, my gosh, East Coast Lumber, told the story about delivering lumber up and down the East Coast in a schooner on the Indian River.
He looks good for over 100.
We've had Joey Miller, of course, of St. Lucie Battery and Tire. Great stories from Joey back in the days of. I told Joey I remember him delivering batteries to my grandfather's car dealership on Orange Avenue, and of course Johnny Stam. So we've had some great people talk about the longevity of their business and how they got to where they are today, and it's great insight into business. And tonight our guest is another standout legacy business owner and operator, over 50 years in business, second generation owner and operator. Tonight we've got with us owner of R.K. Davis Construction, Mr. Doug Davis. Welcome to the show this evening, Doug.
Thank you, Tom.
So I really look forward to talking to Doug and about Doug's time in business along the Treasure Coast. But before we get to Doug's interview and our time with Doug, I want to welcome back a young man who's been with us before, standout instructor and individual from Indian River State College's Advanced Technology Program, Mr. Steve Nicholson.
How you doing, Tom? Thanks for having me back.
Yep. Steve is going to update us on a very popular and timely program, of course, with all that's going on in the news. He's here to talk a little bit about the cybersecurity program as we kick off a fall semester at the college. We'll talk a little bit about cybersecurity. So, Steve, just get us started real quick. Brief overview of this whole cybersecurity space. What's going on out there?
Well, 2016 was actually a pretty interesting year. Good. Symantec, which is a company, as you know, that manufactures one of the top antiviruses out there, and deals a lot with corporate antiviruses and business solutions. Symantec found 430 million unique new pieces of malware last year alone. And that's just one company.
That's all?
That's all. That's all.
Whoa.
Don't even
10 plus million a day. No big deal.
I think I have half of them in my MacBook.
I have the other half in my phone.
So talk to us about the cybersecurity degree offerings at IRSC. What can a student get involved in over at the college?
Sure. So right now we're currently offering an associate's in computer information technology that allows you to take some of the prerequisite courses on hardware and software that lead directly into the bachelor's. You'll get some experience with ethical hacking courses and network security and things like that. And then, of course, we always have our ever-popular Bachelor's of Science in Cybersecurity and IT Management. That degree is going great. In fact, we just altered the pathways, and we now actually have specific pathways that students can take if they're more interested in the hacking aspect or the systems administration aspect or perhaps the programming aspect. They can actually specialize in that. And best piece of news, I'm going to release it right here. This is a world first.
World exclusive right here on
World
Startup
first.
Talk.
Starting, I believe, spring, algebra is no longer a requirement. They're now taking logic, mathematics. So that was
Are
one
you
of our.
serious?
Yeah, thinking mathematics is going to be replacing algebra now, so it's no longer a requirement in our program.
Oh, my.
Yeah, they're going to do more logic-based, programming-based type thinking rather than just algebraic formulas and equations.
But I noticed no Russian ethical hacking courses. Is that right?
No Russian ones.
No.
Talk to us about job opportunities. Of course, that's obviously a big issue. Certainly, at the top of mind for those that instruct and teach at Indian River State College. What are the opportunities out there once they get through the program?
Well, currently we have multiple partnerships that are available to the students as they go through their coursework here at IRSC. Our bachelor students, when they go in their capstone, can actually get an internship with the St. Lucie County IT department. And we've had about 90% of them hired directly to the department outside of the program once they graduate. So that's a real good thing. They're getting actual live experience. As far as pay right now, typically walking away with your associates in our field is about 45K on average annually. And walking with the bachelors, you should easily make 75, 80K starting anywhere. And the problem right now with our industry is we have about 1 million job shortages. We are about 1 million jobs that we're short. We just don't have the people that can keep up in the industry. So if you're highly technical and you're pursuing that career that has some longevity, you want something in the IT field. Cyber is where it's at.
Well, with those numbers, you're liable to have some late registration. So talk to me about fall semester. Now we're pretty close to launching, but do you have some sort of program orientation or something that a student could come out and kind of check out the program?
Yeah, absolutely. Before every fall and spring semester, we have an orientation that is available to not only new students, but anybody in the community or potential students thinking about enrolling. The current one coming up is August 22nd at 5:30 p.m. I'll have a couple speakers from out in the community that are going to come. We'll have some tables set up in some booths. It'll be a good thing. You can come out and meet your instructors and kind of get a little bit of layout of the land. But the big thing we have coming up in October is our Cyber Day. We're going to have, it's going to be a big event. We're going to have all sorts of hacking demonstrations, lock-picking demonstrations. We're going to have people from the field office of the FBI in Tampa coming over. We're going to have companies that do consulting on cybersecurity. We're going to have, county IT department there, just a bunch of people that are looking for skilled cybersecurity workers, companies, and also, the opportunity to network, and it'll be a good time.
All right. So again, just to reiterate, orientation for open to the general public, so anyone can come out the evening of August 22nd. What time does it start?
Correct, 5:30 p.m.
5:30. So August the 22nd, Kite Center, V Building on main campus.
That's right.
All right. How does the student contact you and the advanced technology team under our good friend Dr. Kevin Cooper over at the college? How do you get more information?
The easiest way for them would be for them to send an email. They can send it to advancedtechnology@irsc.edu, and that's advanced with a D at the end. So advancedtechnology@irsc.edu, or give us a call, 462-7688.
Okay. Steve, you do a great job over there, and it's a great program, and again, very, very timely program. I'm assuming it is a popular program nowadays.
It is.
I mean, you got a lot of interest in it, more
Absolutely.
and more.
Yeah.
Okay.
More and more.
Well, Steve, keep up the good work over at Advanced Technology. We appreciate it. August 22nd, main campus, Kite Building, which is kind of down the road on 35th Street.
That's right.
Big building, can't miss it. In fact, tallest building on campus,
That's
I think,
correct.
4 stories. So you can't miss the Kite Center. So August the 22nd, if you're at all interested in any advanced technology programs, that's the night to get out and come visit the campus, and you'll see our instructor, Steve, there.
That's right. Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Steve. Again, as always, I do want to remind folks, check out the IRSCbiz.com site. That's IRSCBIZ. I tell folks all the time, when you get to that IRSCbiz.com site, just click on that events calendar icon. I promise you, you will be impressed, shocked, and surprised at all the seminars and workshops going on. I'm holding in my hands the August calendar of scheduled events. There's probably no less than 20 events, 20 workshops, seminars going on. Everything from how to write a business plan, financial record keeping for small business, how to start a small business, business insurance for small business, business writing. So again, all kinds of business events brought to you by the Florida SBDC at IRSC and our good friends over at SCORE, who instruct all those classes. All the courses and seminars and workshops brought to you by the Florida SBDC are free. There's no cost to attend those workshops or seminars, so I would encourage everyone in business to take advantage of all those offerings. Also got some great CCTI courses coming up, always running something in the area of business support through
Noticed
the CCTI.
Fast Track for Manufacturing is back.
Yes, in fact, that's something I think next week we're going to have our good friend Joe back to talk about the upcoming Fast Track.
Cool.
Again, just like we talked last week, I was at the recent Treasure Coast Manufacturers Association annual meeting at the Pelican Yacht Club. Pelican Yacht Club was packed. They told us there were 60 manufacturers in the room, and all of these people are looking for employees.
Wow.
All of these folks are looking for employees. So again, a great program to get involved in. If you're looking to get involved in advanced manufacturing, looking to get a great career, that's a great place to start, is with the Corporate and Community Training's Fast Track to Manufacturing program. So check out the IRSCbiz.com site, and I tell folks all the time that when I was back in business, if I had just taken the time to become engaged in and participate in these programs, I am confident I could have been a better manager, owner, and operator. Dr. Massey and the Board of Trustees have done an incredible job of building what I always like to call a very powerful and robust one-stop shop for business assistance through the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute, which is made up of the Florida Small Business Development Center at IRSC, the Business Incubation Program, and the Corporate and Community Training Institute. Again, you can always get the latest at irscbiz.com, so check it out.
Sounds great.
And with that, I want to re-welcome Mr. Doug Davis, owner and operator of RK Davis. And if you'll hang in there with us one more minute, Doug, we're going to get to Doug. I'm looking forward to our conversation about Doug and RK Davis Construction. But with that, we'll take just a quick break and, again, recognize our underwriters and supporters of Startup Talk.
You bet. Startup Talk is being underwritten by the law firm of Dean, Mead, Minton, and Zwimmer, celebrating 30 years of service on the Treasure Coast. Practice areas include commercial litigation, tax and business law, real estate development, agricultural and water law, trust, probate, and estate planning. On the web at deanmead.com. And by Harbor Community Bank, banking the way it used to be. Are you looking for a better banking experience? At Harbor Community Bank, our customers' needs are the top priority. Whether you're looking to finance a dream home or open a small business line of credit or send your first child off to college, Harbor Community Bank is ready to assist you every step of the way. Why wait? Discover the community banking difference. Stop by your local branch and speak to a customer service rep or a loan officer today. Harbor Community Bank, Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
And we are back, and this is Startup Talk from the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute here at Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred, the Regional Director for the Florida Small Business Development Center here at Indian River State College. And we have with us in the studio tonight good friend, business leader within our community, Mr. Doug Davis, president of R.K. Davis Construction. Welcome to the show, Doug.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you inviting me, and I was very flattered after you told me those that have been invited before me that I get to fall in.
That's right.
With that esteemed group. Thank you.
Well, I don't. It depends on who you talk to, whether it's an esteemed group or not. You know what? But nonetheless, they are legacies in business, esteemed group or not. But you know, I really do enjoy this segment, and I do enjoy talking to those that have been in business for multiple years, multiple generations. It gives us great insight into business, and you gentlemen and ladies are really to be commended. I mean, it's not easy being in business in general, but it's certainly not easy being in business for 50 years. So congratulations on that, Doug, and for the perseverance and leadership that you've shown in the business.
Well, yeah, that was 57 years, of which my part was only 37. Richard K. Davis was the originator, so we'll give him the credit. I'm still working on filling his shoes, but he started this business in 1960, and I didn't take it over until about 95. So he really set the standard for me to follow.
Well,
I'll bet some pretty big shoes too.
Yes, they were.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. Let's start right there, Doug. Give us a little bit of your business history and kind of your pathway to Richard K. Davis Construction, or R.K. Davis Construction.
All right. Well, I figured I'd tell a little fun story, and that is Richard K. Davis is a West Virginian. And he evidently was a rebellious young man in his teenage years, and he ran away to Palm Beach, and that would have been somewhere around 1945.
Whoa!
And when he finally did decide to go home, he remembered his time down here, and he knew a man, Loudon Pools owner, was also a West Virginian, and he came down and he began selling pools. That was in the 50s. And then he began to decide he wanted to take off on his own, and he started residential construction and picked up some good friends locally and worked his way quickly into the commercial industrial realm sometime in the early 60s.
Wow. Now that I did not know that
amazing.
part of the story. Your father worked at Loudon Pools selling pools.
Yeah, that's where
Wow.
because he knew no one in this area, and
Wow.
he knew Mr. Loudon, and he came down here and went to work, and then got his own standing
Right.
and started his own business.
That is so cool.
So R.K. Davis, as you just explained, R.K. Davis really started as residential. That's how he kind of started the business, as a residential home builder.
Yep, and he ended up getting in with Jack Scott, Dick Stebbins were some of his early friends, and went into bidding and got some fairly sizable jobs. One of the ones I made note of when I was taking a look and trying to get familiarized with the history of Richard Davis Construction, knowing I was coming on today, one of the first jobs he had, I recognized, was Community Methodist Church out on 33rd.
I saw that on the
and
webpage, yeah.
Okeechobee. And that was kind of a unique thing to think. You know, he built that in the early 60s. So that's one of the first. Indian River Presbyterian Church, the first parts of Indian River Presbyterian on 25th in Virginia. Some of those were some of the early jobs that he picked up and did, which were sizable for him.
Yeah,
at the time.
those were
And
big
you
jobs.
built some large churches throughout the area too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Now, so again, kind of take us. That's a little bit of the history of R.K. Davis. Kind of talk to us, you know, modern day R.K. Davis. What does the company do today?
Oh, you want to advance forward already?
Oh, well, is there more? I want more history if there's more
He's
history.
been talking to Alan Osteen all day. Alan says, they only let me get up to the 20s. Oh.
So you've gotten us from the you've gotten us to the 60s. What happened in the 70s, Doug?
Oh, I don't remember the 70s. Yeah. Tom?
Uh-oh.
That's right. See, I knew I was playing. I knew that was going to be the answer to the question.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've known Tom a long time. And, but, those of us that have grown up in Fort Pierce, it's a tight-knit group.
That's right.
All right.
That's
so.
right. And as is our listeners out there, it's only our small group, Doug, that listen to the show. So
Your mom, dad, and who else?
I think Alan said he listened. So
that's three.
That's right. There's
Okay,
three
cool.
of us. Got 3 listeners. So again, is there more history?
Well, I'll just say that he started out small and he built an organization that prided itself in hands-on construction, to where they self-performed a good deal, if not everything that they did, and subcontracted the mechanical, electrical trades and site work trades out. And so he developed a very strong group of tradesmen early on that I really admired in the early day, men that would put their hands to the wood or put their hands to the concrete and put their hands to the masonry and built it vertically. And to watch, people that take pride in what they do was something that really struck me. And so as a young man, they worked me like a dog, because in my teenage years, they allowed me to go out there and mix mud for the mason,
Right.
or to work with the concrete crew, or to be an apprentice with the carpenters. And that was really a time that really struck me and got my attention.
Yeah. Well, and again, my knowledge and understanding of R.K. Davis construction always was one of high quality. Like you said, when you heard that someone's home was built by R.K. Davis, you knew, like you said, it was built by craftsmen. I mean, the work in the interior of the house, the trim, it was done, like you said, by folks who put their hands on the wood, and it was always a high quality product. That was the reputation I certainly was raised with in the community regarding R.K. Davis construction.
Yeah, and starting doing what he was doing, I think it's like, you understood that business from the ground up then. Isn't that basically what your dad wanted you to experience?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you talked about residences, talking about names, Judge James and Jeannie Alderman. A lot of us know the Aldermans, very prominent family. I remember working on their house. They live out there in the Okeechobee borderline,
Right.
out in the middle of nowhere. And, of course, when we built that house, it was out in the middle of nowhere. A number of homes, Chet and Sandy Griffin, Neil Griffin, Jeffers, and Lloyd.
Oh, sure.
Iconic
Yeah.
house there on Hartman Road. Yeah.
As well as Dick Neal and Mace Neal's home over on the lagoon up in St. Lucie Village. So it was always Doc Myers and Cora Myers building their house back in that little insect-infested waterway in White City. That was something I won't forget either, because that was tough.
What an incredible house, though. Kind of a bridge to the house.
Yeah, the
out.
bridge. You've
Yeah.
been there.
I've been there. The bridge to the house. It's an incredible home, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you guys built that one.
Yep.
And Greg Roslow lives in your mom and dad's house.
They're old. Yeah, the house I grew up in, and I remember up on the second floor watching the crop dusters coming through the grove on Hartman Road. That was all grove land back in the day, and crop dusters would be flying about 20 feet above the ground, and then they'd have to rise about 40 feet to get over the top of our roof, and you'd see them coming, and you'd say, "Oh my gosh!" My sister and I would be scared, but those guys were good.
They never
veer
missed.
away, never hit the house. We were good.
But, again, I've had the opportunity to be inside Greg and Cindy's home, and just the finish work, the details in that house, the fit and finish, the trim, just incredibly beautiful, home that you don't see that a lot much anymore. I
No,
mean,
and it's tough to find good craftsmen these days. We may get to that in this interview, but that's one of the struggling things of running the business
That's right.
today.
That's
But
a much later question, Doug. That's
Okay,
that's a much
don't
later
get ahead
question.
of myself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So tell us again, Doug. Now take us now to modern day R.K. Davis. I mean, what you guys have got your hands in a lot of things today. I mean, what does the company do? Who's the primary target today for the company?
We moved the focus over time to where we're more prominently engaged in industrial and commercial work. Residential is there, but we don't actively pursue it. If someone would love for us to build their home, we'd be more than happy to come and build it, but it's more of a custom residential design build type of work where it's a pride of love. We don't necessarily bid that element of work, but we've moved into doing a lot of, in the early days, citrus was big, and so we would do a lot of citrus work, which is now starting to come back, which I am very glad to see, and I hope to see it continue. We're doing a lot of manufacturing in the day, and it waned in the recession. I see it starting to show signs of life. We did a Expert Shutters in Port St. Lucie, which is about 23,000 square feet of a manufacturing facility, which is big for Port St. Lucie.
That's big.
And I was glad to see that. Pursuit Fishing Boats is expanding, so we have some monies that are still being spent, discretionary monies for boats and pleasure investments that Pursuit's providing, and so we're building an expansion for them to take on a new boat line.
We just mentioned that on last week's show about their expansion. So you're building the expansion for Pursuit. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a great project for us. We'll be finishing that up hopefully by the 1st of September. And I'm sure they're hopeful that we'll finish it up by the 1st of September. They're anxious.
All right. So again, diversified out of the residential, into more commercial, and again, that's obvious. Like you said, you obviously have to make that kind of, switch over into commercial. The residential, again, obviously a lot of competition in that residential market. Tough to compete as things changed in the residential, I'm assuming, and obviously, you had to really kind of make the move into the commercial business.
Well, I would say, as you're saying that, I've been trying to wonder, why did we move out of residential? And I think our work is more relational. Even the names I just mentioned to you, the people that we've built their homes, it was because people respected us, knew us, and they would come to us. We don't go out there and really fight for it, and we're not involved with these large kind of speculative building, and that you see a lot of that right now. Right. So I think that's what caused us to migrate away from that. Right. And our work is relational to where a ton of what we're doing, people will come to us because they know we have the experience, and we've done this in the Treasure Coast for 57 years, and so they come and speak to us. Some of them personally know us, and some of us have just heard about us and visit with us. And then when they see what we've done and what we can do, because we've kind of migrated towards, and my father set the course, and that was to want to do as much of the project hands-on as you can, because the more you can control, the more you can govern what quality and timeline takes place in the construction process.
That's with your staff and not subs?
Yes. So now what we will do is we will hire out the design teams, because we do not have professional designers on staff.
Okay.
But we will oversee the entire process of design and have that hands-on single source responsible position with our clients, and make sure it's translated through design, through permitting, and on to the completion of construction. And so my dad set that up as a course of action, and so I think it's played out really well, because our project management staff has come up through the schools of building construction, whether it's at Auburn or Clemson or University of Florida, and have those kind of academic backgrounds to be able to manage that process.
Well, and again, as we talk about business strategies and that folks employ in their business, I mean, that was obviously a vision of your father's and a great strategy. I like how you put it, was that your father understood the more I control, then I can control the quality. And again, when you go back to the reputation of R.K. Davis, I mean, it was, the reputation was one of quality, and I guess that was a big part of how you were able to get that reputation, was to control more of the processes.
Exactly. And, one thing I have learned is that what we do is relational,
Right.
Not only the relationship that I can build directly with the people I contract with, but my men in the field are the men who really build good relations, because our clients will go out and they'll be saying, well, I'm curious how far they got today. And they'll go walk on site and they'll meet my painter and they'll meet my carpenter, they'll meet my superintendent. And they see that these guys have a heart to do it right and do it well, and they're craftsmen. And so that's really where the relationships get built, is on site, which is really cool.
Well, and it's interesting that you talk about relationships, because I tell folks all the time that when I taught Intro to Marketing, the book had 16 chapters, but I would tell the students there's one common thread that runs through all of these chapters, and it's about building relationships. And that really is what a business is about today, is building those relationships. So again, when you point that out, it does make so much sense. And again, like you said too, that's where a lot of your business came from, because of those relationships. You've got to get out there and build those relationships. And I read a quote about your company that's where someone you were building a facility for, and they said there were things that the craftsman would take down and redo, but the folks that own the building said we were fine with it, but it demonstrated that they weren't fine with it. The craftsmen weren't. They took it down and redid it. So there's obviously a commitment from the ground up in your company to quality.
Well, if you were hiring me to do your home or your business, you're not out there all the time, right? So what our goal is we do it as if we're building for ourselves. Right. So I mean, if something wasn't right and it didn't satisfy me, because my guys know I'm a little picky. Matter of fact, that a little probably is not the right term.
Right.
I'm Mr. Punch List.
Right.
And so they know I expect something, and so they'll take it apart and redo it before I show up, typically. Right. But if I catch them, then it's like, oh, okay, guys, this ain't right. Let's pull it apart and redo it. But it's good to have guys, because my guys are very ethical and they know what I'm expecting, and so they'll do it themselves right, or take it apart and do it right before I show up, typically.
So in terms of just business in general, you've been running this business, like you said, a long time, Doug. I mean, how tough is the marketplace today for a small business? I mean, what are your greatest challenges out there as a small business owner and operator?
Well, I would say that we have had 10 of the toughest years we've ever had. And many of my employees, we had upwards of 50 employees, Tom, back in 2005, 2006. That's a lot of employees for a construction company.
Right.
Self-performing our work. When the economy went south, we ended up having to lay off large quantities of employees, and some of my guys found other trades because they couldn't find it in construction. I have a number of my guys that went and retrained themselves. Some of them went into healthcare and nursing.
Wow.
Which I thought was pretty unique.
Yeah,
that was good.
Very unique.
They were looking ahead and saying, okay, where am I going to go? Because construction is not going to support me. So my biggest challenge now is bringing back tradesmen. Where are they? They're not there, Tom. They've all done what my guys have done and found other ways to support themselves and their families. So I see now with the Economic Development Council that they're doing a skills gap study to identify where the gaps are and start trying to work towards, through our vocational programs and our education systems, to put programs in place that will train the youth and bring them up, because there are great opportunities. Block masons, concrete finishers, carpenters, cabinet makers, the list is endless, and the need is great because the skilled workmen are not there. I've got a core group that I've been lucky to hold on to, the core, and now I got to build on the core, because going into next year, I see a big bust. We're starting to get really busy. This year is the first year I've started to really get excited, and next year looks good. Our backlog's starting to build up. But I don't know. Now I'm going to bust a sweat because I don't know how I'm going to perform, because where are the workmen? I've got to build from the core.
So is this really the first time since the recession hit that you've really got it back in gear then?
No, because this recession has been very cyclical, where it's gotten up and I've gotten excited, and then it's dropped. And I've gotten depressed. Okay. And I've had that happen at least 3 or 4 times, where I thought, okay, we're coming out of it. and we dropped down. Now that's commercial industrial, keep in mind. Residential's taken off and been going gangbusters probably for 3 or 4 years maybe at this point. And commercial industrial always follows by 2 or 3 years. So here I am, and I think residential is probably going off the charts right now, and I'm starting to see my workload and my backlog really getting exciting.
Alan mentioned that too, is that in this, in this particular recession, he saw it bounce off the bottom a couple of times and thought, well, things are coming back, and then they would go kind of dormant again. So
yeah, what he was saying is, he said it's amazing. You think, okay, business is down maybe 50%, and he's going, wait a minute, that's 80%.
Yeah. Well, and again, I guess the thing about construction business and in some areas, Alan's lumber business. I mean, you guys always did kind of work in cycles, but like Alan said, this one just went beyond the normal cycle. It was just kind of off the charts for even in this industry. And I'm assuming from your comments you saw the same thing, just the worst of the worst.
It's tough to see 8 years of up and down, and yeah, I've had a full 8 years where it's been tough to sleep on many occasions. So right now I'm excited about the prospects and the backlog I see, but I'm kind of cautiously excited.
And again,
Just
Doug,
in case.
Doug, one of the things again that I'm so impressed always with you, and you are a smart guy, but one of the things I've always been impressed with you and your company, and I think one of your greatest strengths is, and I say this, about everyone that we've talked to in this series of legacies of business, but there seems to be a common, trait amongst folks like you that you have the ability to recognize those market changes, and you have the ability to be an innovator and respond to those market changes. I mean, talk a little bit about how you've done that, because you've done it through the years. Like you said, it was residential. Then you said, well, we got to move from there, and then you've built a lot of car dealerships. You got into the churches. Talk about your thought process and how you reinvent yourself and how you go out there and respond to those market changes.
Well, it's interesting to watch things evolve, because we built almost every car dealership down on US 1 for about 10 years. And at this point, that market's dried up for me, because really most car dealerships, what they will do is they'll bring the contractor in from outside the area that does all their other dealerships, and they don't work with a local contractor. Now, I will say that I'll stand up for the Sunrise Fords of this world, which those are relational things. I have a
Mike
great
and Mary Jo,
relationship.
yeah.
That's been a great relationship, and they call me back because they like working local, okay?
Right.
But they're a local owner, okay?
Right.
We got to work for Jeff Veldy, and so that was a great job up in Vero Beach to do Veldy Ford. And those are relational things. These others, there's no more relationship with all the other dealerships that we've done. They've all gone elsewhere, and they're tough to manage. So that kind of marketplace is a little bit dried up. So we're moving in new directions. Some of these things, like I say, are coming back now. Citrus, I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. I'd love to see citrus come back, not just because I'm a contractor, but
Right.
I'd love to see the agricultural market
absolutely.
come back. Same thing with you mentioned self-storage. Self-storage is where people bring their residential product usually, and they park it for a while, and they're off and about, and then they come back and get it. That went dead, and now we're starting to see it really come back to life. So everything is very cyclical. You kind of
Right.
just got to keep your ear to the ground and see where it's going, and try to then market to go into those areas and capture the attention of those people. But mostly we have people that come to us because they know us,
Right.
and because they're local, and it's relational. And if it wasn't someone I've already done business with, it's somebody that's heard of me by word of mouth, because I did do a good job for the person before that is in the same market.
Speaking of the self-storage, construction business, did you ever have one of those kind of like moments where you were thinking, okay, what's next? Like you're saying, no more car dealerships and no more churches. I mean, did you ever think, have one of those moments where you said, "Wait a minute, there is new opportunity out there," and you kind of you pursued new opportunity and you came up with the idea and it opened up a whole new market for you?
Well, when we just had to make it because there was nothing going on in the recession, we're mostly geared to doing new construction, ground up, clear the property, build vertical construction, all the self-supporting amenities that go with that. The recession caused us to get into doing a whole different market, which was additions, remodeling, tenant build-outs, repairs. It's a little stressful type of work. I don't want to go back there, and I hope I don't have to. But, I mean, it is there. It's been a good market for me to tap into, and so that's where I had to go because nobody had the money nor was willing to spend the big bucks to do new, and they were buying up all these vacant properties and good buys, and they needed the help to get them up to snuff to operate out of, and that's where we've found our niche for the past 8 years.
I mean, is it a fair statement to say that the recession made us a little better business people? Did we improve our business skills maybe because of the tough times? I mean, is that fair to say that maybe that helped?
Those of us that are still in business, yeah.
Right.
Here's what we did, and I think everyone else in construction and probably any and all other businesses, they just had to tighten the belt. They had to learn to live without a lot of the things that they had grown accustomed to. And so instead of having 8 people to do the work, we got 4 people to do the work, and 4 people do twice the work. They just take on the roles of other individuals and suck it up, because that's where the biggest part of your overhead is in administration and management. And that's also been a tough part of the recession, but that's what we've learned to have to do. Now that's another part of hiring. I need to start looking to get project management assistants. I might get a secretary again. That would be nice.
Right.
There's a variety of things I'd like to get, and so I'm hopeful.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about the importance, Doug. Again, R.K. Davis, just legacy business and along the Treasure Coast. If you've lived here, certainly like I have, and grew up in the area, R.K. Davis was a household name and certainly synonymous with quality. But talk about the importance of having companies like yours stay in place, and how does that play into the sustainability of our region's marketplace?
Well, you said legacy, right?
Right.
All right. Well, legacy could be a part of it because I don't know what legacy to me means. One generation to the next. So Richard K. Davis had Douglas Davis, who was able to pick it up and run. My son's not necessarily interested in construction. He's got other aspirations. So where do I go? Well, any business always has to be looking for those that are qualified and willing to carry the mantle. And so I've been very successful. I don't know if you've met Roger Priest, but Roger Priest is an extremely
good guy,
well-qualified guy. And so a succession plan's in place. And so maybe he might even change the name of the company.
Right.
Who will see? But that's the succession plan. And same thing with any and all trades or positions within my organization. We always have to look for the person in the organization that has a willingness and have an interest in stepping up the ladder, and then to train them and spend the time to develop their abilities to get them to a place where they are the leaders of tomorrow. And I can't get all the tradesmen I need right now, so I'm willing to work with people that are willing and able, and I'm willing to train them and let them come up the ladder. So that's what we all have to do, and that's a fact of life. That's what we all do.
Now, where do you find your tradesmen?
I pray real hard, and
as we all do. Yeah.
No, I'm serious about that, because God has been good about delivering skilled tradesmen. They just show up and say, "Hey, I need an application for employment. Are you interested in? Here's what my capabilities are," and I'll look and I'll go, "Wow, Good timing, sir.
Right.
You're hired.
You're hired. Oh, you can weld? Right on. I'll see you Monday. And so I have been able to pick up 3 new men just in the past 9 months. And I'm hopeful God's continue to be good to us in that way. But I put feelers out, TCBA. There's a couple of ways.
Just going to ask you about that. Yeah.
But and I'm hopeful that this what is it called, the skills gap study that the EDC is doing through the vocational training that the education systems will do. I'm hopeful I can tap into that too, because I'd love to get some youth, because we're really we're a business of elderly people. You know, most of us, my employees are between 40 and 60. You know, so I need some 20 and 30-year-olds really.
Well, and again, Doug, it shows, it really does demonstrate your remarkable business acumen to, you know, when you talk about succession planning. So often when we talk to business people, and, you know, there really isn't that thought of the succession plan, or, you know, one of the concepts that we teach even in entrepreneurship is, you know, begin with the end in mind. You know, how will I end this, you know, when it comes time? How will I exit? So again, you know, quite a great testament to you to be thinking in those terms of how will I continue this business? How will this business remain sustainable as we go forward? So again, conversation that we don't always hear from business people.
Yeah, well, it's key, because you don't want to show up one day and all of a sudden there's nobody to let you move on. And I guarantee you, I'm thinking about moving on. I'm hopeful.
Well, Doug, my gosh, Doug, as good as you look, Doug. I mean, come on, man. You look like you could go surf or play 36 rounds a hole of golf every day. So
I was a little disappointed. I got home tonight and I thought that Gert was going to have at least a shoulder high swell coming in, and it was about knee high. So that was a real bummer.
So no surfing tonight. Well,
now as I remember, you have kind of a surf group around here, right?
A surf group?
Yeah, a bunch of surfers in Fort Pierce, as I remember.
There's a few of us old timers still out there, but I go out there and I usually I have to introduce myself to the young group now, because most of my generation's moved on now. I don't know what happened to them, but they're I don't know. They're not out there anymore.
So, Doug, kind of as we bring this thing to a close tonight, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking time out. I'm sure you'd rather be at the beach tonight.
There's no waves, so it's all right. Thanks
for filling the time for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, weatherman.
Yes.
Thank you, Gert.
Talk to us a little bit about your advice. You sell yourself as kind of a older statesman here in business. Talk to us about your advice for young aspiring entrepreneurs. What do you tell people who say, I want to go out there and start a business? I mean, what's your advice?
Well, you know, my son is a sophomore at FSU, and I asked him, okay, he's studying business, and so business is such a general term. It's like, right. Well, what does that mean? Where's that going to take you? Well, he's not sure yet. He has a few ideas. So the key things that I hope that I instill in him, or anyone that wants to take on being an entrepreneur, taking on new business, and that is integrity is the key thing that drives your business up and down. If you cannot, in good standing, be a leader in your community and have people that want to come back and call you after they've had an experience with you, relational, right?
Right.
If that doesn't happen, then you're sunk. You're sunk. So integrity. And if you can't live by that, and that means doing things like taking it apart and rebuilding it before someone else recognizes it,
right.
or whatever, you know. And one of the key things I've always told my guys, and especially my project management staff, and that is make sure that you give the buyer more than they expected.
Yeah.
Okay? So the construction industry is fraught with those that want to kind of give you less than what's expected, and change order you to death. Oh, by the way, that wasn't in there. Here, let me give you this little extra. So, you know, it's always good to me that's the way you build a relationship. You do it well, and you give someone more than they expected, and then you've got a satisfied client. You have a relationship for life, and they're going to speak well of you. So that's the way you do business.
That is excellent advice.
That's great.
Can we just rerun that answer a couple of times, Greg?
Wow. I'm just trying to think here whether we can teach him to sell air.
Doug, really, I think you've nailed it. I mean, integrity and build the relationships and give, exceed a customer's expectations. And, so often in the construction business, what I see around the walls may look fine to me, but what really matters, I guess, in construction is what's behind those walls, and
it'll show eventually.
Yes, eventually it will come out. Yes, eventually you will be found out. So again, Doug, again, I just can't tell you. I've always been impressed with you and your company, and again, your business acumen and your integrity in the business, and it's been a real honor and a pleasure to call you a friend and associate with you through the years in business. So, and I appreciate you coming tonight and talking to us about the history of R.K. Davis and what you've done with the company. So,
Greg's giving you a 2 signal. Does that mean I got a little extra moment?
Well, did you need a moment?
Well, if you have the moment.
You bet.
I have
Take
30
it.
seconds, yes.
30, okay. Hey, here's a quickie.
Yeah.
I got to work for your father, First United Methodist Church downtown. No, yeah, he was a sweetheart. He might have been a taskmaster to you.
Right.
But he was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, have you ever I had to get up into the attic of First United Methodist Church downtown in order to reframe a roof deck and put new roofing down.
Right.
And when I got up into that attic of the original sanctuary, those are hand-hewn timber beams. I've never seen anything like that with an awl, a tool called an awl, where they didn't mill those with saws. They did those with an awl and shaved them down. I got up there and saw those things, and I said, wow, that was one of the unique things of my whole construction experience, was crawling in that attic to figure out how I was going to anchor down these new roof framing members we were putting on top. But your dad was a great person to work for, and that was an extreme, unique experience.
You never worked for him as a lifeguard in the rec department? I thought that's what you were going to tell me. I thought you were going to tell me you worked for him as a lifeguard.
Your family's great, man. I appreciate you.
Well, they are 2 of our 3 listeners, by the way.
That's right, yeah. And maybe we'll get you never know, maybe we'll get a 4th.
We might get a 4th. All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning into another segment of Startup Talk. Thank our guest tonight, Steve from IRSC, and our good friend Doug Davis from R.K. Davis Construction. And you can check out all that's happening at the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute at irscbiz.com. As always, I want to thank Greg and our partners here at WPSL, WSTU, and WPSL TV, and WQCS. We'll talk to you next week on Startup Talk.
This is WPSL, Port St. Lucie, WPSL.com, webcaster to the world, WSTU Stewart, and WQCS, Fort Pierce.